हेलो दोस्तों, वेलकम टू द नोट्स डिस्कशन वीडियो ऑफ आवर चैप्टर 5 इंडिया दैट इज भारत। जैसा प्रैक्टिस हमने एस्टेब्लिश किया है कि एनसीईआरटी के चैप्टर हम हिंदी में डिस्कस करेंगे ताकि कॉन्सेप्ट हमारा क्लियर हो जाए, और जो नोट्स का वीडियो है वो हम कंप्लीटली इंग्लिश में डिस्कस करेंगे। इसी प्रैक्टिस को फॉलो करते हुए लेट्स स्टार्ट विथ टुडेज वीडियो। So chapter 5 India that is Bharat. This means India is Bharat and Bharat is India. Okay, so today's India, the India which we have inherited, that is our modern India, today's India is a modern nation. So today India is a modern nation, and what makes it a modern nation? How it is a modern nation? It has a defined borders. So today we all know exact map of India. So it has a defined borders, defined state. We know the boundary of all the states, names of all the states, and known population. So today's India has a defined borders, defined states, and known population. Known population are the people who are the citizen of India. So we exactly know who are Indians and who are foreigners in today's India. But that was not like this before independence, or before that time, before British era, or even in earlier time. So how in earlier time Indians used to name India, or foreigner used to call India, we are going to discuss in today's video. So since ancient time, the idea of India existed as a cultural and geographical unit. So although India did not exist as a modern state with defined boundary, but the idea of India existed as a cultural and geographical unit. This geographical unit generally included the whole Indian subcontinent. So we know the Indian subcontinent is the whole land of India, which is below the Himalayas and surrounded by the sea. So that Indian subcontinent. So from the past, the idea of India as a cultural and geographical unit existed, and that generally included the whole Indian subcontinent. Let's discuss what is Indian subcontinent. The Indian subcontinent is a distinct geographical region separated from the rest of the Asia by natural barriers. What are these natural barriers? So Indian subcontinent are literally separated from rest of the Asia, or you can say the world, by the natural barriers. So these natural barriers are in the north. Himalayas and Hindu Kush mountain range form the natural barrier in the north of Indian subcontinent. In the west, so again, always follow this. Let's always make this whenever we are discussing the direction: east, west, north, and south. It is always better to draw this diagram. Okay, so in north we have Himalayas and Hindu Kush mountain. In west we have Arabian Sea. In east we have Bay of Bengal. In south we have Indian Ocean. Kanyakumari. So these are the natural boundary of Indian subcontinent. Kanyakumari, that is the southernmost tip of main Indian land. Obviously, for India, it is southernmost tip will be the Andaman and Nicobar, in Andaman and Nicobar, but the mainland of India, the southernmost tip is Kanyakumari. It is also known as Triveni Sangam of the sea. So which are the three seas which form the Triveni, like Sangam, that meet at that place, are the Indian Ocean, Bay of Bengal, and Arabian Sea. Okay, so this is, yeah. Let's move forward. Now let's discuss how Indians named India. So the first name which comes is Sapta Sindhava. So Sapt means seven. Sapt and Sindhava, the river. It refers to Sindhu river in particular, and in general term, it is also referred as river. So Sapta Sindhava, what is the meaning of Sapta Sindhava? Land of seven rivers. And what is the source? That is Rig Veda. The first name of India as a geographical first name which appears in the Rig Veda is the India's most ancient text. India's most ancient text. And in that text, the name appears Sapt Sindhava, that means land of the seven rivers, for the region. Which region? Sapt Sindhava is not the whole Indian subcontinent. So what is the region which is covered in this Sapt Sindhava, land of seven rivers? It is a northwest part of the Indian subcontinent. Northwest part, we already know Sapt Sindhava. So this is the Sapt Sindhava, northwest part of the Indian subcontinent. This is the Sapta Sindhava region. We already discussed when we were discussing the NCERT. So the region covers northwest part of the Indian subcontinent, and in modern time it includes part of India as well as Pakistan. Sindhu. So this Sindhava, Sindhu, what does Sindhu refers to? The Indus River. So technically Hindi name, or you can say Sanskrit name for the Indus River is Sindhu, and at times it can also mean river in general. So Indus River in particular, or river in general. That's why Sapta Sindhava, land of seven rivers. So that was the first name which was given to the India, not the whole subcontinent, but the northwest part of the India. Then the second name in our ancient text which appears is the Bharatavarsha. So this is the very important name which we even know till date. So Bharatvarsh, what does it means? The country of Bharatas. So Bharatvarsh means country of Bharatas. And how do we get this name? What is the source where this name Bharatavarsha is mentioned? It is mentioned as Mahabharata, and also mentioned in the other text and inscriptions. So this name Bharatvarsha is also not only it is mentioned in Mahabharata, it is also mentioned in the other text and inscriptions like Jain inscription and Jain text. The whole Indian subcontinent is referred as Bharatvarsha. Now, why this word Bharatvarsha is significant than the Sapta Sindhava? Because Sapta Sindhava was the name of a specific region, northwest region, that is the basin of Indus River and its 5 tributaries, plus one extra river that was Saraswati River. It is not it doesn't exist today, but it used to flow during the Vedic period. But Bharatvarsha is significant name because it refers to the whole Indian subcontinent. So what is the significance of the Bharatvarsha? Region covered, one of the earliest name used for the entire Indian subcontinent. Entire Indian subcontinent from below the Himalayas and surrounded by the seas from all 3 sides. So Bharatvarsh is the first name, almost the first name which was which refers to the entire Indian subcontinent. That's why it is very significant. Now, origin of, since it is called the land of Bharatas, now the question arises, who were the Bharatas? Mainly, how did the Bharata name originate? So the origin of the name Bharata can be traced to first reference. The oldest reference, Bharata, refers to one of the main Vedic group of people in Rig Veda. So in Rig Veda, when we will study Vedas, talk about Vedas, we will study that there were many tribes mentioned in Vedas, many Vedic groups mentioned in Rig Veda, and one of those groups was Bharata. So Bharata refers to one of the main Vedic group of people in Rig Veda. So it is Bharata tribe, battle of 10 kings when we will study. So Bharata tribe was the victorious. So that's why the name, normally the name is normally the name of the victors are adopted. Victor decide, whoever wins the battle, he decides the name. So Bharata, since they won the battle of the 10 kings, so that's why the whole region, the whole subcontinent was started. People used to refer it as Bharatvarsha, like land of Bharatas. Okay. Now it is not only the Bharata tribe. In other literature also the word Bharat appears. In later literature, several kings named Bharat. So in later literature also several kings appeared whose name was Bharat. For example, King Bharata. Hindu tradition. In Hindu tradition, there is a famous king, King Bharata, and many people say that the Bharat name comes from King Bharata. He was son of Dushyant and Shakuntala, the same Bharata who, when he was young as a child, he was so brave that he counted the teeth of the a lion. Okay, and also there is a King Bharata mentioned in the Jain tradition. King Bharata mentioned in the Jain tradition, he was the first Chakravartin, that is the universal monarch. So the King Bharat, which is mentioned in the Jain tradition, he was called the first Chakravartin. Chakravartin means the universal monarch, like king of all. Okay. And he was son of the first Tirthankara. So when we will study about the Jain religion, we will study that the Jain religious leaders were called Tirthankars. So King Bharat was the son of first Tirthankar. Okay, so he was also called the first Chakravartin, that is universal monarch. So these were the origin of the word Bharata, and Bharatavarsha was called the land of Bharata. So it could mean either the Vedic tribe, Bharata tribe, or it could also mean the King Bharata in the Hindu tradition, son of Dushyant and Shakuntala, and King Bharata in Jain tradition, who was the first Chakravartin and who was the son of first Tirthankar. Then the next name which appears for the whole subcontinent is Jambudvipa. Jambu means jamun tree, and Dvipa means island. In general, mean island. So it meaning it. So what does Jambudvipa means? It means island of the jamun tree. So maybe jamun tree was native to India, and it used to maybe it was found in all the parts, most of the parts of the India. So India was referred as a Jambudvipa, that is island of the jamun trees. Now this name for Indian subcontinent, what are the sources? So it is mentioned in Mahabharata text. Also in Ashokan inscription, this word Jambudvipa is used for the whole Indian subcontinent. So Bharatavarsha and Jambudvipa are the oldest name which was associated with the whole Indian subcontinent, not just India, the whole Indian subcontinent, which in modern time included the part of Pakistan, also some part of Afghanistan and Bangladesh. Okay. Now the region cover. So in Jambudvipa, the region cover is the whole. In general, the whole Indian subcontinent is covered, and during Ashokan time, that was 250 BCE. Ashokan time is 250 BCE. BCE we already know, before Jesus Christ, 250 years before Jesus Christ, before Common Era. BC means before Common Era. Jambudvipa included India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and part of Afghanistan. So in the Ashokan time, Jambudvipa included this. And in later time, whenever Jambudvipa meant, it generally meant the whole Indian subcontinent. Okay, so now let's move further and let's discuss. That was the name of the Indian subcontinent, and the Sapta Sindhava was name of the northwest part of the India, where the Rigvedic tribe Rigvedic people were prominent, and that was the land of the 7 rivers. It refers to the northwest part of India, and Bharatavarsha and Jambudvipa used to be associated with the whole Indian subcontinent. Okay, now let's study about what other regions of India are mentioned in Mahabharata. Regions of India mentioned in Mahabharata. So I have made it in the form of table, so it will be easy for you to revise before the exam. And in NCERT it is given as a paragraph. So Kashmira, ancient name, and Kashmir is the modern name. More or less it is the same region. Kurukshetra, modern day Haryana, parts of Haryana. Vanga, modern day Bengal, that is parts of Bengal was included in Vanga. Same. Prayag Jyotisha, that is modern day Assam, roughly motamoti, not exact boundary, that roughly. Then Kutch, modern day Kutch, and Kerala, modern day Kerala. More or less the Kerala in ancient time as well in the modern time, in Mahabharata time and in modern time, the Kerala is same. The region mentioned in Mahabharata covers the entire geography of the subcontinent. So this is very important. So even when 2000 years back Mahabharata was written, that has the people who wrote it have had the knowledge of whole geography of Indian subcontinent. So this is one of the indicators that the whole Indian subcontinent was united, like not united but known to each other. There was a type of cultural and spiritual unity. So that's why all the regions of Indian subcontinent were known to the other parts of the subcontinents also. Now moving forward, so now the other ancient name which appears, other name which we Indian gave to our country was Bharata. A few century later, after Mahabharata, in Mahabharata, Bharatavarsha is mentioned, but after few century when Mahabharata text was written, Bharatavarsha, not Bharatavarsha, people started calling it Bharata. So Varsh, they removed it, and generally they started calling the whole subcontinent as Bharata or Bharat. So Bharata became the name generally used for the Indian subcontinent. So from Bharatavarsha, the Bharata came and it started appearing in all the texts after Mahabharata. Few centuries after Mahabharata. Even today, obviously, it is one of the official name of our country. In even today, Bharata name is used and is written as same. Bharata is written as Bharat in North India and Bharatam in South India. So maybe the Sanskrit influence. So this is same Bharata. It is written as Bharat in North India and Bharatam in South India. Now, Bharata is also mentioned in the Vishnu Puran, that is one of the ancient texts, and in Vishnu Puran defines Bharata. So, in Vishnu Puran exactly defines Bharata, how it defines the country that lies north of the ocean and south of the snowy mountain is called Bharata. So this is the definition of the Bharata mentioned in the Vishnu Purana, that it is the country that lies north of the ocean and it is south of the snowy mountain. So this is technically our whole Indian subcontinent. So this is the Bharata mentioned in the Vishnu Puran, a country which lies like south of the snowy mountain and north of the sea. So it is clear. Now, interpretation is simple. I have just mentioned it. We already know snowy mountain refers to the Himalayas and ocean is the Indian Ocean. Obviously, the Bay of Bengal and the Arabian Sea is the part of the Indian Ocean. Importance, why it is important? One of the earliest geographical definition of India. So before that, we know that Bharat name Bharatavarsha and Jambudvipa was associated with the Indian subcontinent, but there was not an exact geographical definition. But in Vishnu Purana, for the first time, the exact geographical definition of Indian, that Bharat word appeared, that Bharat is a country that lies north of the ocean and south of the snowy mountain. So exact geographical definition of the Bharat appears in first time in the Vishnu Purana. Okay. So now, again, these all texts were from the north majorly, but in the South Indian also idea of India existed. So idea of India in the Sangam literature, that is Tamil literature, the poem of ancient Tamil literature that was around 2000 year ago. 2000 year ago is 300 CE. Since it is 2026, so 2000 year ago will be 300 CE, that is common era. Praises a king whose name is known. So it is mentioned in the poem that there is a king whose name is known from Cape Kumari in the south. That Cape Kumari is nothing but Kanyakumari in the south to Great Mountain in the north. That is obviously Himalaya. Between the ocean on the east, that is Bay of Bengal we know, and the ocean on the west, that is Arabian Sea. So obviously this bracket thing I have mentioned so that we know what it is mentioned. But it mentioned that there was a king whose name was known in that specific Tamil poem from Cape Kumari in the south to the Great Mountain in the north, between the ocean on the east and on the west. So what does this demonstrate? That even in the south, there was a geographical awareness that India as a geographical unit, Indian subcontinent as a distinct geographical unit, people were aware about that India is something that is below the mountain, the land which is below the mountain and above the seas, that is the land of India. Okay, so geographical awareness was there, that people knew that in extreme north there is a mountain and extreme south there, and east and west there is ocean. So this demonstrates geographical awareness. Pan-India connectedness in the ancient time. Pan-India, it was connected. That's why people knew that what existed in the north, what existed in the south, what existed in the east as well as in the west. Idea of Indian subcontinent as a unit. So this is nothing but a poetic definition of the Indian subcontinent. So they knew about the Indian subcontinent, that it is a region that is it starts from the south in the Kanyakumari and goes up to the mountain in the north, and it exists between the two seas in the east and west. Okay, so now after reading about the names which we discussed, which Indian gave to the Indian subcontinent or part of India, let's discuss what the Constitution of India, that is the modern national state, modern constitutional state, what it says about India. Constitution of India, that is Indian Constitution. Constitution of India officially recognizes two names for the country. So these two names are official name. Other name are obviously all also maybe Hindustan, Bharat Mata and other things. They are name of India, but they are not official name. So official name we have adopted in our constitution two names of India. One is India and second is Bharat. So India is more of a modern name, the name given by the all the rest of the world what they used to call us, and Bharat is the name what we used to call ourselves. So that is obviously you cannot exist alone in the world, so that's why we choose both name, what everyone used to call us and what we used to call ourselves. Both name is important, so one is India and one is Bharat, and that is the officially recognized name in our Indian constitution under article 1. That is the first article of the constitution. How the constitution is divided into different parts and article we will study when we will study constitution in our UPSC journal. Okay, so let's move forward. Constitution right at the beginning, beginning uses the phrase India, that is Bharat in English version, and Bharat arthat India, that is Hindi version. So India and Bharat, they appear separate name, but they are the same name of the same country. Okay, and let's discuss what is a constitution. A constitution, a document that spells out the basic principle and laws of a nation. So constitution is not just for India, it is for every modern nation. So it is the document which spells out the basic principle and laws of that specific nation. So what are the boundaries of the nation, who are the people of the nation, how the government will be formed, all these basic things, what will be the right of the people, their duties, and all these things are mentioned in the document which mention these things is called the constitution of that specific nation. So we have constitution of India, there can be constitution of other countries always, constitution of US, UK, France, every country in a modern time, most of the countries, almost all the countries have the constitution in one way or other. Indian constitution, just I mentioned, Indian constitution was adopted by the Constituent Assembly. So Constituent Assembly were the group of people, we will study about it later. So it was the group of people who wrote the constitution. So to write the constitution, Constituent Assembly was formed, and Constituent Assembly adopted the Indian Constitution on 26 November 1949. So final constitution was adopted on 26 November 1949, but Indian Constitution came into force on 26 January 1950. But Indian Constitution, the law of that constitution came into force, it got implemented across India on 26 January 1950. So Constitution was adopted on 26 November 1949, but it came into force, it came into effect on 26 January 1950. That's why we celebrate 26 January 1950 as a Republic Day, because that, although Constitution was there, but it was not in force. But 26 January 1950 was the date on which the Constitution was in force, came into force. So now let's now discuss how foreigners named India. So first foreigners who named India were Persians. So Persian referred India as Hind, Hidu or Hindu. So they were the first foreigners to mention India in 6th century BC, or they are the first foreigner about whom we know that they mentioned India. Maybe other foreigners also mention India, but now no inscription or text exists which mention what they used to refer to India, so we won't consider them. But Persian are were the text which is available, historical text. So it shows that the Persian were the first foreigner to mention India as a country in 6th century BCE. So even before Jesus Christ, even 600 before Jesus Christ, Persian named India. Okay. 600 BC. So I've just mentioned the span. So 600 century is will start from 600 BCE and will end at 501 BCE. So century, we already know the to name the century in the BC time, we see the first year. So it starts with the 6, so it is 6th century BC, and in the CE time we see the end year. So that is 6th century BC, 600 BC to 501 BC. So Persian were the ancient inhabitants of Iran. So who were Persian? They were the ancient inhabitants of Iran. No, how did the name like the Hind, the Hindu originated? So it was Sindhu river, which was already known. India, we used to call our land Sapta Sindhava in Vedas. So earlier name of the Indus river was Sindhu. So from that name they adopted the word Hindu or Hindu. So adoption of the Sindhu in their language. So when they adopted the name Sindhu in Persian language, so it became Hindu or Hindu. In ancient Persia, the Hindu is a pure geographical. In that time, the Hindu word was pure geographical in nature and does not refer to the Hindu religion, which it refers now. Okay. Now the second one, the how Greek mentioned. So Greek mentioned India as Indoi and Indike in their text. So the name India based on the, and how did they name India? So they named India based on the Persian sources. So Persian sources were available to them, and based on that Persian sources, they named India. So how did it happen? So earlier we Indian used to call the river Sindhu. Okay, so when the Persian came, they adopted that same name Sindhu, but they made a change in their adoption change in their Persian language, and Sindhu became Hindu or Hindu. And when the Greek adopted that name Hindu, they, since letter H did not existed in their text, the adoption, so they dropped the letter H and it became Indoi or Indike. So Indoi or Indike, they dropped the initial letter H of Hindu because so they adopted like Hindu or Indoi or Indike. It originated from their Hindu only. They dropped the letter H because the letter did not existed in their Greek language. So in that Greek language, letter H did not existed. So that's why they dropped the letter H and Hindu became Hindu or Indoi or Indike. Okay. French called then French adopted the name and then called it in Inde, I-N-D-E, Inde. Now, ancient Chinese used to call India Yintu or Yindu. It is again the adaptation from the word Sindhu only and Hindu only. So they replaced H with Y. Maybe Y was very prominent in their language. Yangtze River we discussed. So ancient Chinese used to call India Yintu or Yindu. Origin, how did it origin? Everything originated from the Sindhu river, that Indus river. So from Sindhu, the Persian called it Hindu and the Greek called it Indu after dropping H, and then the Chinese adopted it, added Y, and they called Yindu. Okay. Another Chinese word for India is Tianzhu. So that is the that it is also origin it also derived from Sindhu only. That was Zhu. So, but Sindhu they converted it to Tianzhu. But this word has its meaning in the Chinese language, and it could mean heavenly master. And heavenly master, they used to call India a heavenly master. That's Tianzhu, and this reflects the respect for India as a land of Buddha. So obviously Buddhism was very prominent region back then in China, and that's why they respected India as a land of Buddha. So they gave it a name Tianzhu, although it is derived from Sindhu word only, but it means heavenly master. Okay. Then there is a word Hindustan that is the that is formed by the two words Hindu and Stan. Hindu again originated from the Sindhu river, and Stan suffix meaning for place or a country. Just like it just means place or a country. Like now Pakistan name Pakistan and Hindustan Hindustan. So Stan is the suffix for the country. So meaning is the, so this means land of Hindu, like land of Sindhu, but Persian converted, when Persian adopted Sindhu, did they wrote it as Hindu. So that is meaning is land of Hindu. to Hindustan. The name first appeared in the Persian inscription around 1800 years ago. So this is also not a modern name, this is also an ancient name, and it first appeared in the Persian inscription 1800 years ago. So obviously Persian called the region Hindu, and maybe so some of them who used to use the suffix for the country, so they added the suffix in Hindu word and made it Hindustan. So that is also a Persian origin word, and it appears in their inscription of around 1800 years ago. Later, this word was widely used by invaders. NCERT only mentioned invaders, but we also know that travelers also call India Hindustan. Many travelers who come from that region, traders and travelers, they both used to call India Hindustan. This name was also used for India. Now let's discuss about the foreign travelers to India. So only one foreign traveler. Later in our NCERT journey, we will study about other foreign travelers also. So Zhuangzhang, he came from China. He is also spelled as Huan Sang or Huan Sang. The spelling is different, pronunciation is same, hopefully, and formally spelled like this. He traveled from China to India. So he was Chinese who traveled from China to India. What was the period when he traveled? 7th century CE. And again, 7th century CE is the period between 601 and 700 CE. So we know that naming the century which is in common era, we check the end year. So if it ends with 700, so it was 7th century. So if it ends with 1900, so it is the 19th century. So previous century ended with 2000, so it was the 20th century. This century will end in 2100, so that is 2100, 2100, so that's why it is 21st century. Okay, so during his 7 years, so he stayed for 17 years. During his 17 years, he stayed for India for 17 years. He visited many parts of India, met scholars, collected Buddhist texts. He translated manuscript from Sanskrit to China. So he is like credited for converting many of the Buddhist or many of the manuscript which was written in Sanskrit language, because that was the language that was used in ancient India, and he converted it from the Sanskrit to Chinese. His work is major source for studying, and now I have added this. So when we will study history, so we know that in the previous chapter we studied the sources of history. So one of the sources of history were the travel logs of the travelers who visited India during that specific period of time. So his work, Huansang work, is a major source for studying the Harsha reign, because he was there during the King Harsha's time. Plus, to study Nalanda University, how people used to study there and what was the structure, we get it from his source, his writing, and plus his work is also made a source for Buddhist texts, because after Nalanda burning and decline of Buddhism in India, most of the Buddhist texts were lost in India. Okay, so many of the surviving Buddhist texts we can credit Huansang for that. Okay, and plus also his work is also major source about Indian society, because he literally lived India for 17 years, and since he came from the China, so his society was different. So he observed India objectively, and he explained the very small details about Indian society, because many things which we take it for granted, maybe Indian writer did not mention, because they might have thought that maybe it's very common, so why to write it, but that was not common for him, because it was completely different culture. So he wrote each and everything about Indian society also in his travelogue and his work, and so that now is one of the major source for us to learn about the Indian society back then. That was 7th century CE. Now let's study about the evolution of name India. How did the India name evolve? So it all started with the name Sindhu. That was the name of the river. The Persian made it Hindu in their adaptation, and then the since they didn't have the letter H in their letter H or its sound in their own text of that time. So they made Hindu as Indu or Indoi or Indike. And from Indike, when it was adopted in Latin or English language, Indoi and Indike became India. Okay, so that is the journey of the word India. Okay, now that was one of the last question, was why people travel to India. So I have just mentioned it separately in the notes to help class 6 student, also UPSC aspirant, because that is the important why foreigners used to travel India, why India was so famous from like ancient time, why we were so famous. So why India attracted foreigners? First reason is obviously most of the reason you will see that in the history also, for the war, for everything, is economic reason. So first reason major is economic reason is spices, Indian. Textiles was also famous. Textile can be textile. Precious stone was found in India, and also other trade opportunity. So India was a trade hub between different thing. Maybe from it was also in the ancient time from China. Things used to come to India from India. Then it was transported to the other part like Arab and Europe and other countries. So economic reason, that's what attracted foreigners. It can be spices, textile, precious stone, and trade opportunity. Second major reason is the religious reason. Obviously the most important was Buddhism, and today we know that the Buddhism as a religion is more prominent in other country than the country of its origin, that is India. So it is prominent in China, in Japan, in Sri Lanka, or even in the countries like Thailand and other Bali, you will see many Buddhist temples. Okay, so Buddhism religion was one of the major region which attracted foreigners, and plus Hindu pilgrimage center also. Obviously in India is there are many Hindu pilgrimage center, and in the past also Hindu might have lived in other countries also, so they used to come India to do the pilgrimage center. Like maybe in today's time we go to China, Kailash Parvat is in China, so people go to China, Hindu goes to China. So that time there are many religious pilgrimage center in India. So people from all over the world who were influenced by the Hindu religion, they used to come India for the religious reason, and maybe the people who used to follow Buddhism, they used to come to India because India is the land of Buddha. India is the country where the Buddhism as a religion originated. And other region can be education region also, because we had one of the best universities in the ancient time. It is Nalanda University, Takshila University, that is Taxila or Takshila, however you can pronounce it, and then Vikramshila University. We will read about these universities in detail in the future text, and if you are interested, you can just Google it and learn more about it. Nalanda is in Bihar. Takshila and Vikramshila are also used to, it was also in the Indian subcontinent. So people for the education region also to study in university, like today we go to Cambridge, Oxford, or maybe MITs. India go to the other country to study in their university, because those universities are famous in today's time. Many people come from other country to study in India also in Indian university, but it is not as famous now as it was in the ancient time during Nalanda, Takshila, and Vikramshila. Okay, that was India was the hub of education also. Then there can be political reason also, diplomatic, for establishing diplomatic relation. People could come and visit India, and for conquest, obviously all the invaders and wealth to capture the India. The Persian came to India, who named the Sindhu Hindu. So they came India as a conqueror only, and like capture the northwest part of the India, and then they named it. And from other time we know that the invaders or people from different parts of the world come to India for conquest or for diplomatic relations. So political reason can also be there. Then there can be cultural reason, like curiosity about Indian civilization. For example, Huan Sang, when he would have gone to China, he would have written book about India, its people, its culture. Then other people would have got influence, would have got curious about the Indian civilization, and they could have visited India to just see what is India all about. Maybe the traders who used to take spices and other things from India, they used to tell their people like about the land who is so rich, and that is one of the so people out of curiosity also, cultural curiosity also, could have visited Indian civilization. So these could be the reasons. These are the reasons which could have attracted the foreigners in India. So that is end of the chapter. So that is end of this chapter 5. So see you in the next video when we will start the chapter 6. So see you in the next video, aspirant. Jai Hind.